My name is Jake. Just Jake. I can't tell you my last name. It's too dangerous, because the Yeerks might find me. And if they find me, I'm done for. But I live in Brockwood. Oh boy, do I live in Brockwood. La-di-da-di-da, living in Brockwood. Contrary to popular belief, Episode 17, Not My Problem, is not an adaptation of Animorphs 4 Back to Before. It couldn't be, seeing as how the episode aired more than a year before that book was published. That's not to say that I believe Kay Applegate took the idea from this episode. The whole It's a Wonderful Life premise has been done to death before, and I can accept that Applegate and the people behind the show came to the same idea independently. Besides, the book and this episode go in completely different directions with this idea. So let's see how Annie TV handles the George Bailey equation. Jake is getting fed up with things at school and home. We get a scene where Jake is approached by Tom and some of his friends from the sharing, and the way this is shot, with Tom getting all close and Jake getting all worried, seems to imply that they were going for a bit of serious tension, having Jake tense up this close to the enemy. That's what this scene looks like. How it sounds is another matter.
Hey, I didn't know anybody was home.
Yeah, they decided that this scene about Jake being uncomfortable around his Yeerk-controlled brother needed the Axe hijink music. Tone, you don't understand it. Jake tries to leave and...
Come on, we need a fork.
Leave him alone, guys. Leave him alone, guys. Leave him alone, guys. Leave him alone, guys. Leave him alone, guys.
Right, I'm just gonna forget that happened. Jay goes up to his room and starts whining out loud about how he can't take it anymore and wishes he never met Elfangor, which prompts the arrival of the Elemist and his ever-bushy eyebrows. The Elemist asks if that's what Jake really wants, and Jake says it is, though he's courteous enough to say he can't speak for the rest of the team, which almost makes up for his Pluto poster. The Elemist grants him his wish because
of all you've done for your race.
Yeah, all that stuff you did. You know, like, well, you did a good job, kid. So there's a flash, and we're taken to an alternate dimension where Jake never met Elfangor. He overhears his parents talking about how weird Tom has been acting lately, and reassures him that he'll talk to Tom and get to the bottom of this. Tom shows up and invites Jake to the sharing that night, and Jake agrees. We then cut to the school. Okay, look, as far as I can tell, there's no city called Brockwood anywhere, and I know schools aren't always named after the cities they reside in. Still, giving us the name of the school kind of shatters the idea that these could be any kids in any school. I mean, the secrecy of the Animorphs' identities are a crucial part of the books. And there's no way the creators of the show weren't aware of this because it's in the first paragraph of every single one of them. Again, changes from the book are one thing, but destroying one of the key themes of the story when you could have just not filmed that sign is whack, man. Totally whack. We get a scene with Tobias and Rachel as lab partners, and it becomes clear that while Rachel didn't meet Elfangor, Tobias did, and is freaking out about the Yeerks. This makes sense. While Jake's wish was for him to never meet Elfangor, he seems to have forgotten that Rachel, Cassie, and Marco would never have met him if they hadn't chased Jake's dog out of the mall, while Tobias went to the construction site independently from the rest of the group. Despite Jake saying that he doesn't speak for the rest of the team, his rashness of his decision caused him to forget just how events unfolded and has inadvertently endangered his friends. And with Axe probably dead or scooped up by the Yeerks off screen, this leaves Tobias alone to face an entire alien invasion. Not even an entire football stadium of wise black people can help him now. Clearly freaking out, Tobias tells Rachel about the Yeerks, who promptly tells Cassie, which is a good way of demonstrating the whole you can't tell anyone concept of the series, so at least we've got that part right. Jake plays some hoops with Tom and starts talking about college entrance exams, which Tom just kind of shrugs off. We then cut to the sharing, which is a lot more happening than the last time we saw it. Woo, we crunk up in here, yo. Rachel runs into Marco, so we've gone from the Yeerks making you scratch your ears a lot to Yeerks turning you into fucking Carlton.
Well, it's still me, Rachel. I just cleaned up my act a little bit, that's all. And for the better. You can too.
You know, I'm not as upset about the continued failure to make controllers act like they did before Infestation as I am with how Marco is wearing that sweater. Jake sees Tobias enter a back room of the sharing and confronts him, revealing that he's been suspicious of things too, so Tobias spills the beans for the second time today.
The sharing is a front. A front. For what? For an alien conspiracy. You know what? You've been watching way too much Mystery Science Theater.
Woo! Mystery Science Theater 3000 reference! Except, well, alien invasions have nothing to do with that show. In fact, unless the Earth was also being invaded by a middle-aged woman and her spacefaring VW van, or the Yeerks had decided to conquer Earth using Ed Wood movies, I don't think Mystery Science Theater applies to this situation at all. What, you couldn't mention the X-Files or something? Tom and his Goonies arrive and escort Tobias out of the building. Tom asks Jake what this was all about, and we learn that Jake has been a controller this entire time. And no, we never got any hint of this before now. No weird behavior, not even an itchy ear. It's actually kind of clever. Marco's presence earlier almost acts like a bit of a sleight of hand, reminding us of how awful the Yeerks are at hiding their presence, and as such we would never suspect Jake. Could it be? Could the Yeerks finally be moving in the direction of competence?
Yeah, this place could use a janitor.
Oh, Cass, what's wrong?
In the bathroom, I went in the wrong room and I saw in the sink this kind of a gross slug.
Nope. Is it sad that it isn't hard to imagine some sappy Yeerk having a hard time figuring out the motion-activated paper towel dispensers to the point that he falls out of his host's ear? The next day, Tobias tries to make a connection with Rachel, but Jake scares him off. Jake goes to Chapman's office to berate him about not noticing Tobias is snooping around, and admittedly, it's fun to watch Jake pull rank like this. However, this is hampered a bit by Jake assuming that Tobias must have help from an Andalite. Yeerks somehow accidentally end up in bathroom sinks. Do you really think people can't figure this out on their own? While this is happening, Tobias has been listening in Lizard Morph because it's always a Lizard Morph. Tobias calls Rachel from a payphone and tells her that they need to meet up to discuss the Yeerks. Where do they do this? At the sharing! You know, there are probably 99 places in the city that isn't Yeerk controlled. Why aren't you going there? And how did you guys get in anyway? I'm under the impression this club place is closed during the day. Rachel shows up, only to be approached menacingly by Jake. Tobias saves the day in Lion Morph and knocks Jake out. He and Rachel tie Jake up with the intent to starve the Yeerk out of him, but this all turns out to be a rather clever trap, because not only was Jake a controller all this time, so was Rachel. The trap is spun, and Tobias is captured. You know, this is just making me mad. Finally, we see the Yeerks doing something remotely intelligent. Yeah, this episode still has some face-palming Yeerk moments, but it finally seems like we're getting the Yeerks we should have always gotten. Yeerks that could make you believe that they were just any normal person before blindsiding you and sticking a slug in your ear. We're finally getting competent villains. In an alternate universe! Visor 3 shows up and gives Jake a promotion, but he starts to freak out and is returned back to reality. The rest of the Animorphs just happen to show up at the same time, and Jake expresses how happy he is that he lives in a world where the Yeerks suck. Merry Christmas, Brockwood High! Merry Christmas, Yeerkpool! Merry Christmas, EGS Tower, whatever that is! Merry Christmas, Visor 3! Post-episode follow-up. How sad is it that we have to enter the land of what if to present the Yeerks as worthy antagonists? Because the tension, the feeling of paranoia that should have always have been present in this series finally matures in an episode that didn't actually happen. Marco is a preppy, and Yeerks in the bathroom sink are silly shit, but otherwise the episode does a good job presenting the Yeerks as a threat. In fact, it does the best job out of the entire series, and it was a completely original episode at that, which tends to be weaker. This is just cruel, Annie-TV. Don't tease me like this. Don't you think I've gone through enough abuse? I give Not My Problem a 6 out of 10.
Leave him alone, guys.